You know what it really gets to here? The rank hypocrisy from the top of the Democrat elite. All these libs. I mean, Martha's Vineyard, you have to understand, that's their place. The libs, they consider this to be their sanctuary. Sure, New York can get more dangerous. Boston can get more dangerous. Chicago. They live in the safe neighborhoods, though, and they know that they can spend their summer in Martha's Vineyard. And what's happened here is that, Muffy and Buffy from the country club who donate so much money to Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and Joe Biden, they don't want people. They want other people to be dealing with the illegal migrants. They love them. Oh, no, they're such humanitarians, but they don't want them near the golf course. The Martha's Vineyard migrant humanitarian crisis that is unfolding right now. 50 people on the island of Martha's Vineyard. We talked to you about this yesterday, and the way the left has responded to this is truly mind-blowing. It is a sour grape situation on the vineyard. The libs are very upset, very unhappy with what's going on there. Let's just start with this. You got 50 people that have been dropped off on this island. Now, understand, everybody, because we talk to you about this all the time, about 8,000 officially are crossing into the United States every day. 8,000 a day. A couple of 100,000 a month. And so we sit here and we say, 50? Why does that create such problems? Especially because, Clay, as we know, the Vineyard is essentially entirely Democrat, 95% Democrat, 95% white, roughly speaking, demographically. So they should love the diversity that is descending upon the island.
Should be the strength of Martha's Vineyard.
It should be the strength of the Vineyard. They should be excited to take these migrants in. And what we're hearing right away from the shelter coordinator of the Vineyard is, oh my gosh, we can't handle these people.
What are the most difficult challenges right now?
The difficult challenges are we have, at some point in time, they have to move from here to somewhere else, right? We don't have the services to take care of 50 immigrants, and we certainly don't have housing. We're in a housing crisis as we are on this island, and so we can't house everyone here that lives here and works here. We don't have housing for 50 more people.
They don't have housing for 50 more people, Clay? No room at the inn for the migrants? I've been there. There are lots of inns. There are lots of homes.
90% of the homes are actually not occupied, Buck, during what's soon to be the fall and winter season. How come Obama's got, 12 acres?
Can I just point out?
How come Obama doesn't just put them on the front lawn?
This is an island that expands in the blink of an eye. As soon as Memorial Day happens, you have over 100,000, some say more like 150 to 200,000 people a day on this island. We're going into winter. The year-rounders, and I've been there in wintertime, as I discussed yesterday. I know some of the year-rounders, townies, some people will call them. Islanders is their preferred term, actually. Clay, there's only 15,000. So if you can handle 150,000 in the summer, and you've only got 15,000 in the winter, you got a lot of empty capacity.
What this perfectly crystallizes is left-wing pretend games when it comes to the border. Everybody in the Democrat Party is very much in favor of illegal immigration, as long as illegal immigration doesn't impact their own community. And what Ron DeSantis and Greg Abbott and Ducey out of Arizona, what those three governors have recognized is Joe Biden and the Democrats were not going to mention, as you discussed, Buck, 8,000 illegals coming across the border right now every day, 2 million in this calendar year plus. So you can well imagine, I know we got a lot of listeners down along the border, Arizona and Texas right now, who deal with this all the time, who deal with millions of illegals coming across and through their communities on a regular basis. And all it takes is 50 illegals in Martha's Vineyard to everything to come undone, for around 10,000 in Washington, D.C., for around 10,000 in New York City, a tiny pinprick of the overall illegal population is breaking these left-wing communities' abilities to actually handle them. And what we would say to everybody out there is, on Martha's Vineyard as this perfect representation of what only 50 illegals can do, think about what people in Texas and Arizona are dealing with on a day-to-day basis, because Joe Biden absolutely steadfastly refuses to protect the southern border and stop this illegal influx of illegal immigrants.
I think we can establish a rule on this show, Clay, that you can always tell the potency of the message by how outraged, freaked out, hyperbolic, total meltdown the libs go, right? You know you're over the target when you're taking heavy flack, but with libs, it's more when they're melting down, that's when you got to keep pushing. That's when you know something good is happening.
We got to keep it going.
And that's where we are right now with this. Some of the things that were being said, and there's amazing stuff. We really want to spend some time with you on this today, everybody, because there's amazing stuff all around this issue. As we've been saying, it's only 50 people in Martha's Vineyard. Keep in mind, first off, this premise, they're now moving, some might say deporting, from the island, these 50 individuals to Cape Cod, which is on the coast of Massachusetts. They're mobilizing National Guard. The big initial excuse for why they can't have them in the vineyard was, which is just nonsense, by the way. You could find 2 empty houses. I mean, California is telling hotel operators, we're just going to write checks for you to house the homeless. They can't handle the illegal migrants in the vineyard for a couple of weeks. It's total nonsense. The idea that they can't handle them.
There are hotels there. There are bed and breakfast. Why would they not be forced to open up and take in the illegal immigrants?
But people are looking at this the wrong way. They keep saying it's a tiny island, and they're being misled. A tiny island with no resources. This is actually an island with enormous spare capacity right now in the summertime. Now, they'd say, in the wintertime, they'd say, but we don't have the staffing and stuff. Oh, no. We're not asking for,
five-star
chefs and shiatsu massages at the spa. We're just saying empty houses. There's plenty of places where people could be put up. They want them off the island as fast as possible. They pretend like, the problem is just the lack of resources on the vineyard. Put that aside for a second. New York, D.C., and Chicago have only got between them maybe, 20,000 migrants that have been bused, 15,000. New York, I think it's 11,000 right now. So assume it's another 10,000 in the other two. Clay, they're freaking out. They're calling it a humanitarian crisis. Oh, we can't handle the migrants. Well, if they can't handle them, where? Oh, okay. So along the border, El Paso, Texas, McAllen, those are the places.
Del Rio got totally flooded.
These are the places that are just supposed to accept that now they are effectively they've turned into refugee camps. I mean, that's what's supposed to happen here. It's showing the hypocrisy in a way that, honestly, it's brilliant. I mean, Ron DeSantis, Governor Abbott of Texas, he was the first one.
Yep.
Ron DeSantis with Martha's Vineyard, though, is amazing. And you know what they're talking about his next stop? Delaware.
I agree with it. And for people out there who say this is a political stunt, first of all, the illegal immigrants are agreeing to be taken there. And Joe Biden has been flying illegal immigrants all over the country in the dead of night to try to pretend that they're not here. This is what's necessary in order to put this story on the front page of the newspaper. I agree. Look, if Joe Biden was going to the border regularly, and if he was putting the resources and attention to the border, then I would say, okay, maybe this feels like a bit of a distraction from the border itself. The only way you can get Democrats to talk about the border is this. Buck, I bet the 50 immigrants in Martha's Vineyard have produced more stories about the border in the last 36 hours than were written in the previous 36 days. I'm not kidding about that, because when you look at the amount, most of the media, certainly I haven't seen it on the front page for a very, very long time of newspapers. This is how you grab control of a story and force a discussion about the failure that's going on, because it's an easy leap to say, and I think this is the challenge that left-wingers find themselves in. You're talking about how overwhelmed you are in New York, D.C., and Chicago, and now with Martha's Vineyard with a pinprick of the illegals. Think about how many communities are dealing with what you're dealing with on an exponential level. And I told you, what did I say? We'll play some of the failures of Karine Jean-Pierre to answer a question about this. But Biden basically hasn't been able to say anything, right? They're debating in the White House. What do they do? What do they say? Because as soon as they engage on this issue, the fact that there's 2 million illegals is a follow-up, even if you disagree with the way that the governors in Arizona, Texas, and Florida are acting.
The real number is 5, right? 5 million illegal entries into the country that we know about. And that's
since Biden became into
since
office.
Since Biden came into office. Right. No, when I say the real number, I mean the aggregate number. And that doesn't include visa overstays, by the way, which used to be estimated at 300,000-400,000, maybe 500,000 a year. People that actually come here from other countries and just never leave. That then puts you in a legal status. So what's amazing is, let's just take the census number. And I mean, it's maybe now 11.7 million, according to the Census Bureau, for how many undocumented is the term they like to use. Illegal aliens. How many illegal aliens are in the country? Just adding the 5 million almost brings up a 50% increase in the illegal alien population in 2 years. Now, the reality, which I'm not sure which is really worse for Democrats, is that the illegal alien population of the United States was already more like 15 to 20 million. I'm estimating, I don't know, nobody knows. It's certainly more than 11.7 million based upon Border Patrol data. They've been telling me this for years. This isn't like I just came up with this. But I'm not sure which one is worse, that they're dramatically underestimating the size of the overall population, and therefore the illegal migrant increase isn't as big. But what we do know is they have no answer for this, which is why you have Gavin Newsom of California. You see this? Oh, we should totally investigate whether or not this is kidnapping. Yeah, it's kidnapping, you idiot. Or all these people who are saying it's human trafficking. If someone says, hey, do you want it? First of all, they're not supposed to be in the country in the first place. The federal government, by law, should be putting them on buses and sending them back across the border, but they don't do that. But someone saying, hey, I'm going to give you a free flight to Martha's Vineyard is kidnapping? On what basis is that kidnapping?
That you sign a waiver to be able to go. And if you're really concerned about human trafficking, boy, oh boy, have I ever got a story for you, Gavin Newsom. If you would travel to Texas and Arizona and go check out the border for yourself.
He's at the border.
California, too. You will see a human trafficking, the likes of which has never existed basically in American history, right? That I can remember in terms of millions of people, modern American history anyway, 21st century and 20th century for sure. Millions of people are being coyoted across the border, and the cartels are making billions of dollars to do it. And if you don't pay them, you can't come. That is the definition of human trafficking. That's the business they're engaged in.
It's phenomenal that this is the primary national political conversation right now in this country, the primary story that everybody's having to focus on. And it's exposing, I think, for a lot of people who weren't paying attention before, just how broken the whole situation is. Lawlessness is what is actually happening at our southern border. That when they say it's secure, they're lying to you. But more than that, you know what it really gets to here? The rank hypocrisy from the top of the Democrat elite. All these libs. I mean, Martha's Vineyard, you have to understand, that's their place. The libs, they consider this to be their sanctuary. Sure, New York can get more dangerous. Boston can get more dangerous. Chicago. They live in the safe neighborhoods, though, and they know that they can spend their summer in Martha's Vineyard. And what's happened here is that, Muffy and Buffy from the country club who donate so much money to Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and Joe Biden, they don't want people. They want other people to be dealing with the illegal migrants. They love them. Oh, no, they're such humanitarians, but they don't want them near the golf course. And that's what the whole country has seen.
They love them when they can post on Facebook and when they can show up at the fundraiser where the poor people are masked and they get to sit next to Nancy Pelosi and get their lobster. But as soon as there is any little scintilla of threat to their lifestyle, they turn pretty quickly, Buck. Yeah, he's got a huge mess on his hands with the border finally becoming at the top of everybody's discussion points over 50 migrants being sent to Martha's Vineyard. But fortunately, I'm kidding. I can't even say the joke. Fortunately, Joe Biden has the greatest spokesperson to ever live, Karine Jean-Pierre. She is asked yesterday whether the White House stands by its statement that the border is secure. Enjoy.
Does the White House stand by those comments that the border is secure?
What we stand by is that we are doing everything that we can to make sure that that we follow the process that's been put forth. That's why we have historic funding to do just that, to make sure that to make sure that the folks that we encounter at the border be removed or expelled. And again, the facts are more individuals encountered at the border will be removed or expelled this year than in any previous year. But that's the work that we have been doing.
Is the border secure?
I'm just going to refer back to the Vice President. We agree with her.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, that is a train wreck into awful. You know you're going to get asked the question. I don't understand what she's flipping through to try to find in her binders. It is so clear that you're going to be asked, hey, the border may not be secure. Are you going to stand by it because your idiot vice president said it? And Buck, she can barely talk. I mean, she sounded like John Fetterman or Joe Biden, even worse.
To be fair, what is anybody in this administration going to say about the most unsecure, lawless, reckless border we have ever had? What are you going to say? I mean, they're not going to admit it, right? So there is that.
It's true. They're in a tough spot. The facts are not on their side, but when has that ever stopped them before?